This is solving equations with addition and subtraction. So I said this in my previous video, but again, just to reiterate, an equation saying that two quantities are equal. There has to be an equal sign, and on our equal sign we have a left side and a right side. So one way to think of an equation is a scale, a balanced scale. So we have this scale right here that has 3 red dots on the left side, and it is balanced, it is equal to this right side over here that also has 3 red dots. So if I took away 1 red dot on this left side, would it still be balanced? It wouldn't be balanced anymore. This side will go down, it's a little bit heavier. But how do we keep this scale balanced? If I took away a dot from this side, I would have to take away a dot from this side, and now I have 2 and 2, and I know that is balanced. My scale is the same. So whatever I do to one side of my equation, what I do to one side of my scale, I have to do to the other side. Same if I'm adding things in. So again, here's my scale, it is balanced, but what if I added a dot to this side? Would it still be balanced? It wouldn't. This side would be a little bit heavier until I add another dot to this side, then it would be balanced. So I want to keep my equation balanced at all times. If I do something to one side, I have to do it to the other side. All right, so that's our quick review. Let's get to solving some of these problems. 21 equals 4 plus v. So I'm solving for my variable. Here my variable is v. So I'm just going to go ahead and circle that. I am solving for v. I want to know what the quantity of v is. And when you have this equation, again, think of our scale. You have two sides of our scale. So I'm going to draw a line down my equal sign. These are the two sides of my equation that I need to keep balanced. Now you always want to use inverse operations. So I see that this 4 is a positive 4. How do I get rid of a positive 4? I want to figure out what the value of v is, so I want v by itself. The opposite of a positive is a negative, and the opposite of a negative is a positive, so the opposite of plus is minus, opposite of minus is plus. So right now I have a positive 4. The opposite, how I get rid of that, is I subtract 4. But just like our scale, if I took away 4 from this side, is my equation balanced? It is not. I would have to take away 4 from this side as well. So when I subtract 4, I have 4 minus 4. I'm left with 0, and this v is the only thing remaining on the right side of my equation. And 21 minus 4, you will be able to use a calculator. 21 minus 4 is 17. So the value of v is 17. Let's do another one. Another problem. Let's have 3 plus p equals 27. So I'm solving for p, so I'm going to go ahead and circle this p. And I have two sides of my equation. I'm going to draw a line straight down this equal sign so I can see my two sides more clearly. I want this p by itself, so I have to get rid of this positive 3. What is the opposite of a positive 3? The opposite of a positive 3 is a negative 3, so I'm going to subtract 3 from this side. Well, we got to keep our equation balanced, so I will also subtract 3 from this side. 3 minus 3 is 0, so all I'm left with is this p, and p equals 27 minus 3. You can type that into your calculator, and it will give you 24. Do another one. P plus 16 equals 118. I'm solving for this p. I want to know what the value of p is. I'm going to divide my equation into 2 halves. What is the opposite of a positive 16? How do I get rid of a positive 16? I subtract 16. Though I want to keep my equation balanced, so I'm going to also subtract 16 from this right side. 16 minus 16 is 0, so all I'm left with on the left is my p, my variable. And then 118 minus 16, you could type that into your calculator, and you would get 102 as my value for p. Now let's look at some problems that have subtraction. X minus 24 equals 67. I'm still solving for my variable. My variable there is x. I'm still splitting my equation into 2 halves so I can see my 2 halves that I need to keep balanced. But now I have x minus 24. We're going to do the exact same thing. What is the opposite of minus 24? I'm going to add 24. Negative 24 plus 24 is 0, so I'm left with my x. And x, you can use your calculator to punch that in. You would get 91. So you're doing inverse operations with whatever is next to this x, whatever is on the same side of the equal sign with the variable. M minus 40 equals 90. So I'm solving for m. I'm going to split my equation down the equal sign. These are my 2 halves. What is the opposite of negative 40 or minus 40? It's plus 40, so I'm going to add 40 to both sides. Negative 40 plus 40 is 0, so I'm left with just this m, and the value of my m is 90 plus 40, which is 130. Let's do one more problem. X minus 13 equals 67. I'm going to solve for this x. I'm going to split my equation down this equal sign to show what 2 sides I have to keep balanced. Right now I have an x minus 13. The opposite of minus 13 is plus 13. I've got to keep my equation balanced, so I'm also going to add 13 to my right side. Negative 13 plus 13 is 0. So I'm left with x equals 67 plus 13 is 80. All right, so that was 3 problems on adding, 3 problems on subtracting. When it is an addition problem, you need to use subtraction. When it is a subtraction problem, you need to use addition. I hope this helps. Watch the video on my review on solving equations with multiplication and division.